Welcome back to the deep dive. We're digging into something pretty specific today.
That's right. A question from biblical prophecy that, well, it generates a lot of discussion.
Yeah, definitely. Even for folks who really know these texts. We're looking at Revelation chapter 7 and 9 specifically. And the core question, the thing we're unpacking, is this. Are the four angels holding the four winds in chapter 7? Are they the same four angels we read about later, the ones bound at the Euphrates River in chapter 9?
It's a key question because, how you answer that really shifts your view on how some major events might line up.
Exactly. So let's get into the arguments our sources explore.
Okay, so first there's the perspective that argues, yes, they are the same angels.
Right.
This view often links things back to the book of Daniel, chapter 7. Do you remember the four winds there?
Yeah.
Stirring up the sea.
And bringing forth beasts, yeah.
Exactly. So this viewpoint connects that image to both Revelation 7, the angel holding the winds, and Revelation 9, where you have the Euphrates angels released, which then leads to, well, symbolic beasts or powers emerging.
Okay, so the connection is the outcome, the harm and the rise of powers.
Pretty much. The idea is that both groups, whether you call them winds or angels, they ultimately kick off events that damage the earth and sea, and they lead to these symbolic beasts. So it's seen as like one process, one group of angels, just described maybe differently.
That's one way to frame it. But what about the fact that in chapter 7, they're holding back the harm? That seems different from actively causing it later.
And that's exactly where the counter-argument comes in, the view that says, no, these are distinct groups of angels.
Okay, let's hear that side.
So this perspective really focuses on the details of what each group does. In Revelation 7, like you said, the four angels are actively restraining the four winds.
Holding them back.
Right, stopping them from harming the land, the sea, the trees, until something crucial happens. The sealing of the 144,000.
A protective act.
Yes. Then, after they're presumably released, these winds are linked to, well, literal physical destruction. Think Revelation chapter 8, a third of the earth, trees, grass getting hit. And, importantly, this happens before those Euphrates angels in chapter 9 are even mentioned as being released.
Okay, so a different kind of harm and different timing.
Exactly. Now compare that to Revelation 9, those Euphrates angels. When they're released, it leads directly to the death of a third of humanity. A massive army, 200 million horsemen. It's about human death.
Not necessarily the earth itself initially?
Well, the focus shifts dramatically to mankind. And then, after that, you see other symbolic beasts rising. So this view draws a sharp line. Revelation 7 winds cause literal earth devastation. Revelation 9 Euphrates angels cause mass human death and the rise of symbolic powers.
And crucial point here. The winds could blow, causing their devastation, even while the Euphrates angels are still bound.
That's a key part of this interpretation, yeah. It suggests they operate independently, different roles, different timings.
Okay, those distinctions are pretty clear when laid out like that. The type of harm, the target, the timing. So how does this difference in interpretation affect, the bigger picture, the timeline of prophecy?
It definitely has implications, especially around that sealing of the 144,000.
Right.
If the winds and the Euphrates angels are different, then it suggests the sealing gets completed during the sixth seal. That's before the seventh seal kicks off all that major devastation described later.
So the sealing protects them before the worst hits.
In that view, yes. But what's really interesting is that both interpretations seem to agree on one critical timing point.
Which is?
The sealing, whether it happens earlier or slightly later, must be finished before the fifth trumpet sounds in Revelation 9. Because those locusts that come out, they're explicitly told not to harm those who have the seal of God.
Okay. So regardless of whether the angels in 7 and 9 are the same, that sealing is the crucial prerequisite for surviving what comes next.
Precisely. So, while we can debate the identity of these specific angels, the overall sequence seems fairly consistent in the sources. Earth takes a hit, a huge portion of humanity dies, symbolic powers rise.
Yeah.
The who does what might differ, but the what happens follows a pattern.
It really shows how layered these texts are. One detail, two different ways to read it, potentially shifting the timeline, yet leading towards similar major outcomes. Fascinating stuff.
It is. And maybe the thought to leave you, our listener, with is this. How does exploring these different takes, these nuances about who is acting and when, how does that shape your understanding of how prophecy might unfold? Does seeing these detailed arguments change how you anticipate these kinds of future events? Something to really consider.